At Clancy Catholic College, we pride ourselves on being a truly authentic Catholic college, whereby our chapel is at the heart of our college, reminding us that Christ is at the heart of all we do. As such, liturgy and prayer form the greatest part of the charism and ethos of our school, and our students are always encouraged to let their light shine and go out and make a difference. We challenge our students to be active in their faith and to turn their beliefs into good deeds and turn away from their prejudices and capacity to ignore. In our school year, we have many opportunities to come together as a whole school and celebrate liturgy and community, including our opening school Mass, Ash Wednesday, Easter Liturgy, Mother's Day Mass, Feast of the Assumption Mass, Clancy Day, and Christmas Liturgy. Along with this, we also provide each year group the opportunity to celebrate at retreats and spirituality days. However, the greatest spiritual gift Clancy offer our community is our weekly Tuesday morning Mass service, whereby our local parish priest celebrates communion with our teachers, students, their parents, and members of the wider community. Each week, a different pastoral class is in charge of the organisation of the Mass. In his research, Thomas Groom has highlighted that as liturgy educates, so too the Christian community must educate itself for its liturgical work. Therefore, the purpose of this video is to educate you, the teachers, to prepare our students for the liturgical work in which they are all sent forth to do, with a particular emphasis on preparing a Tuesday morning Mass with your pastoral class. According to Maria Harris, author of Curriculum in the Church, the term liturgia refers to the Church living out its pastoral vocation to worship and pray. In English translation, liturgy often translates to the work of the people and has come to be associated with the Church worshipping as a body, together as a people. Through the liturgy, Christ continues the work of our redemption in, with, and through us, in His Church and in the celebration of Mass with Him. When gathering, it is Christ Himself who says that He is present, and in Matthew 18:20, Jesus says, "When 2 or 3 come together in my name, there I am in their midst." Christ's words are also spoken about in Article 7 of the Constitution of the Sacred Liturgy, which also states that Christ is always present in the Church. Therefore, as each member of the assembly participates actively in worship, they point to Christ's real presence. The general instruction of the Roman Missal is the detailed document governing the celebration of Mass of the Roman Rite of the Catholic Church, which instructs the reader about the way to celebrate the Mass. The GIRM is important because it not only contains the theological and spiritual rationale for the celebration of the Eucharistic sacrifice, but it also gives concrete directions for our participation in holy sacrifice, such as the prayers the priest uses during the Mass, the order of the Mass and blessings, the prayers for special occasions, feast days, and other church and community-based rituals throughout the year. Article 7 of the Constitution of the Sacred Liturgy further outlines that Christ is present through the Word when the Church prays and sings together and in the Eucharist. The concept of communal or public worship is what allows Christ to be present within the liturgy. As the assembly unites with one another as a community and unites themselves to Christ through the Eucharist, they become one body, Christ's active body here on earth, thus allowing Christ to be present in the liturgy. As teachers, it is essential we celebrate our Eucharistic liturgy in such a way that our students become actively involved, both physically and spiritually. It is also vital that they participate in a holistic way that will assist them in becoming more familiar with the rituals, signs, and symbols presented throughout the liturgy. This will in turn help their faith grow as they begin to understand that they have a multidimensional relationship with God. In preparing for the Mass itself, there are many elements to consider, including the gathering rite, the liturgy of the Word, the liturgy of the Eucharist, the prayers of the faithful, and the concluding rite, all of which call for community involvement. The Directory for Masses with Children states that children entering in procession with the priest can serve to help them to experience a sense of communion that is thus being created. Students can be involved in various ways. One student could carry the cross, another student could bring the books of the Gospel. The participation of at least some children in the procession with the book of the Gospel makes clear the presence of Christ announcing His word to His people. In the liturgy of the Word, we listen to God's word and allow it to come into our lives. Then, through the priest's homily, we try and find the meaning in God's word to our lives today. The homily should encourage us to be people that live out our faith each day. When the sacred scriptures are read, God Himself speaks to His people, and Christ is present in His own words as He proclaims the gospel. Therefore, all must listen with reverence to the readings from God's word, for they make up an element of the greatest importance in the liturgy. In our school context, 4 students can be involved in the readings. 1 student could read the first reading, the second the responsorial psalms, a third could read the second reading, and a 4th student can read the gospel acclamation whilst leading the community to join in too. Although God's word is addressed to all people of every era and is understandable to them, a fuller understanding of greater effectiveness is fostered by a live commentary of the word, that is, the homily. This is when the priest has to break down all the readings to help the students understand the meaning and message behind them. The priest will try to put the readings in everyday context that the students can connect to themselves. Directory for Masses with Children even suggests that after the homily, a variety of songs, mime and roleplay can be employed to further break open the scriptures and apply them to children's lives. Something as simple as playing a song can be organised prior to the Mass, or if time permits, students who are musically inclined may like to play a song for their peers that links the gospel that they have heard. Another element which can be organised prior to the Mass is the prayers of the faithful, which are prayers of petition of remembering universal concern, namely for the Church, for world leaders and public authorities, for the poor and oppressed, the local community and parish, and for special intentions. Each student can have the opportunity to read their prayer, thus joining local and global issues together, as well as bringing the class together as one. The Liturgy of the Eucharist is the completion of what is promised in the Liturgy of the Word. Various images and actions of Jesus Christ are represented through the symbolic action of breaking the bread, sharing the wine, and the presence of Christ in the consecration. The Liturgy of the Word announces our salvation, and the Liturgy of the Eucharist manifests it. As teachers and facilitators, we must ensure that the celebration of Eucharist stands out boldly as a sacred meal which we are all invited to share. The Liturgy of the Eucharist begins with representatives of the class carrying bread and wine to the altar, whilst an appropriate hymn is being sung, possibly led by the musicians. In the communion rite, the students prepare to receive the living Lord by reciting the Our Father. These words and gestures reinforce the truth of our faith that Jesus Christ has joined us into one body. The students will then approach the altar to receive the host, while soft melodic music can be played, to allow time for the students to personally reflect on what they have received. In the concluding rite, we have the greeting and the blessing. Then all are sent out into the world to do good work, blessing and praising the Lord. A hymn will then be sung by the musicians, and the priest will exit the service. This concludes the Eucharistic liturgy. Through the use of church documents such as the Constitution of the Sacred Liturgy, the General Instruction of the Roman Missal, and the Directory for Masses with Children, we are able to best bring to life the Paschal story and its meaning for us in the here and now. For some students, school liturgies are the only liturgies that they are exposed to. Therefore, by incorporating students in the Mass and in communion with God, it is a vital tool in assisting younger generations to better understand and communicate with God.